we just love football. We love football, so we're going to dig into it. Luke Kuechly on the show. There was so much drama, and, you know, we got what was just the second overtime game in all of Super Bowl history. Unbelievable. Fun stadium. Weird crowd, as always, for a Super Bowl. And the Chiefs, got to give it to them, first back-to-back champs in like 2 decades. Unbelievable. They joined the 70s the 70s Steelers, the 90s Cowboys, and of course the Brady Belichick Patriots as the only other team to take home 3 Lombardis in the span of 5 years. It's incredible. Like, hat tip, little amazing. Noogies, you know, confetti angels, the whole thing. And now it's not the Chiefs, it's the Chiefs dynasty, and it should be referred to that all from now on, forever. Let's talk what's going on in the offseason. Let's talk about the Chiefs dynasty. Oh, for the draft, the Chiefs dynasty is doing this. That's just, we're amending the name. We're going to go to City Hall and change it in the scripts because that's what it is. And as for last night, as they have, in all 3 of their Super Bowl wins, Kansas City was able to erase a double-digit deficit to get it done. It's so freaking cool. The Chiefs scored just 6 points on their first 9 drives. 9 drives. The Niners, for whatever reason, like, I don't know how you don't capitalize. They weren't able to capitalize. You knew Mahomes was going to turn it up at some point. You knew you couldn't keep it close. You knew you had to start quick. You couldn't be like what you were against the NFC North teams throughout the playoffs. You know, and Mahomes did it as soon as the Niners handed him that muffed punt. Blood in the water, whatever. After being held to just 6 points on those 9 drives, guys, 9 drives, Mahomes led Kansas City to 19 points over the final 4, including the game winner to McCole Hardman, who, you know, Jason Hartchilli has tweeted this. We were at Jets training camp interviewing Aaron Rodgers. McCole Hardman's laughing in the background, like chopping it up, whatever. And now he did this. Amazing. I mean, these numbers are as close to perfect as it gets in a Super Bowl. He was 8 for 8 in overtime, this dude. Patty M. of the Chiefs dynasty, which is, like I'm saying, going to refer to that forever now. He led the team to a score every time they needed it. The playoff wins to get them to this point were about the defense, but this Super Bowl win was about him. It was about Mahomes down the stretch after the Niners really wore their defense down. This was the best performance I have seen out of Patrick Mahomes in his 4 Super Bowl appearances. And now, by the way, rare air, rare territory, personally, here too. This one gives Patrick ring number 3, and that ties him with Troy Aikman for the 4th most all-time, puts him 1 away from Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw. He's only 28 years old, people. Montana won his 3rd at 32. Terry won his at 30. Only Brady did it at a younger age. He was 27, but he also didn't win his 4th until he was 37, 10 years later. Mahomes has already achieved a level of greatness that some of the best quarterbacks of all time have never sniffed, people. And for the first time, I think the idea of challenging Brady at the top of the list might not be completely absurd and ridiculous. And speaking of a new level of greatness, how about what this means for Andy Reid? He got a lot of cheers when he was announced last night. Nance was talking to him. It's, of course, Super Bowl win number 3 for him as well. But you can't tell me that this wasn't his most impressive showing as a coach yet. Here he is reflecting on his entire season after the game.
And how proud I am of the guys for just hanging with each other, staying positive with each other. The defense, the young guys grew up, but nobody ever pointed fingers at the offense when the offense was growing, and it all kind of came together during the playoffs and worked out well, and great leaders. And Patrick and Chris and Trav and the job, you know, that they've done. They're passionate players, man, and I love that. And even if they chest bump me to the other side of the 50, I mean, I appreciate it. I just love that the guy wants to play and wants to be in there playing.
Okay, so he gives all the credit to literally everyone else, but it takes a special coach to sort of change the mentality and the team's entire approach right before the playoffs. And there's this, you know, I was talking to a couple coaches on Radio Row, or that I saw Super Bowl week, about how hard it is to get people to buy in, to change culture, to change mentality. And I thought it was super, super impressive that he was sort of able to do that and buy in after all the success that these millionaires have had. LaShawn McCoy comes in studio sometimes, he always loves to tell me on the show that Andy Reid, not Bill Belichick, is the greatest coach of all time. This win puts Andy in a place where he does match up with the greats, if you look at it objectively. Andy Reid tied with Bill Walsh, you're seeing Joe Gibbs, 3 Super Bowls apiece. Only Steelers coach Chuck Noll and Belichick have more. And to see him on this list is amazing when you think about how he was viewed a couple of years ago. Remember, after 20 seasons in, at 60 years old, look at me. So let me tell you how this coach was viewed. I said it. He's got a lot to prove. 20 seasons in, 60 years old, he was the great coach that players love but can't get it done in big games. Timeouts, weirdness, whatever. Now, he's legitimately in the conversation as the greatest coach of all time, and he's consistently come through in the clutch. Spot after spot, clutch moment after clutch, adversity, all of it. He's proof, by the way, to anyone out there, it is never too late, and I wish everyone would get on board with this. It is never too late to rewrite a narrative. It is never too late, and it's something we should all root for because everybody has it in them, and that is proof by none other than Big Red. Okay, I guess we should get to the Niners side of things. Let me take a sip of coffee. Okay, if we're gonna talk about changing narratives and Andy Reid being a glaring, beautiful example of this, like maybe that's the hope for Kyle Shanahan in this, that he can someday, Kyle Shanahan, change how he is looked because he, and deservingly so, is being looked at as somebody who cannot get it done. For his Niners, too, it's another year. This team has absolutely everything you want in every level, culture, ownership that's behind you, flying everybody out there, the talent, the players. You found your quarterback, even though it's not how you expected it to show up. They had everything you could possibly want. They played their asses off in this game, and they painfully end up coming up short yet again. And once again, Kyle Shanahan's decision-making is the question. The thing I questioned going into this, less about Purdy, less about McCaffrey, less about Kyle Shanahan has a cloud over his head. There's something between the ears when it comes to being aggressive, staying aggressive, making decisions that I don't know if it's the sports psychology of it all. I don't know what haunts him from his past. I don't know what happens, but it's obvious it's something, right? Like, we can't question the decision-making after deciding to receive the ball to start overtime. I'm 5 shots deep at this point. I'm Boozy Susie up in this beautiful FanDuel suite, hanging out with my FanDuel fam, who I love, and I'm so happy to be part of such an epic day in that way. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, well, with the new overtime rules, like, why would you not? What's going on here with the deferring? What's going on? The new rules guarantee each team a possession. We're college vibes here. Wouldn't you want to go on defense first? I know they were on the field. They might have been gassed. But who cares? Like, wouldn't you want to go on defense first and know what you need to do to get the win in the game? After the game, Andy Reid, maybe the greatest coach of all time, said that his plan was to defer if Kansas City had won the toss. He would not have done what Kyle did either. And he actually said, Andy, like, I'm sure he had a reason for it. Okay, well, here was Shanahan explaining his reasoning after the game.
Something we talked about with, that none of us have a ton of experience of it, but we went through all the analytics and talked with those guys, and we just thought it'd be better. We wanted the ball third. If both teams matched and scored, we wanted to be the ones who had the chance to go win, and we got that field goal, so we knew we had to hold them to at least to a field goal, and if we did, then we felt it was in our hands after that.
I feel so bad. Like, I'm heartbroken for him. And I understand the logic and what I don't understand about the analytics, and I don't have the info. But that was the wrong decision, right? And I know I'm not the only one that thinks that. And what gets problematic, and more problematic, is that Chris Jones revealed that the Chiefs practiced and prepared for this potential overtime scenario. And, the Ringer was reporting the Niners did not prepare for this. Multiple 49ers, like Kyle Juszczyk said, they weren't aware that there are new overtime rules. That is the woofiest thing I've heard in a minute. And we'll see I'm going to ask Luke Kuechly about this. He's logging in on Zoom and joining us here in a minute. I want to know what he thinks about that decision in a moment. But, I'm not going to, I just harped on it for like 3 minutes, but it also wasn't the only mistake we saw from the Niners, and far from the reason they lost this game, right? The McCaffrey fumble early, I wasn't even in the stadium for this one. Somebody told me that he felt like I literally did not believe it. The penalties, I mean, the penalties put him behind the sticks. There was the muffed punt. Nobody wants to see that. You gave Patrick all of the energy he needed. The blocked extra point, sure. The killer holding call in overtime. If just one of those moments goes differently, I think the Niners win this game. You can't make those mistakes and beat Mahomes and these Chiefs. You just can't. I'm sorry to Niners fans. I think you're one of the best teams in the NFL and maybe the best story. Man, I know it's hard to have optimism right now. If you're a Niners fan, this is the third time third time in the last 12 years that you've been a play away from winning one. But there is something to say here. You do have your quarterback. And I know that they know that they have their quarterback. I know that. He was so good for the most part of yesterday against an insane defense that's got all the intestinal fortitude and like an institutional knowledge and experience of what it's like to play in these games. And Brock is not the reason the team lost, and I liked that, okay? You have him playing for peanuts next year. You do get to run this thing back one more time. Gibson, the only full-time starter that's due to hit free agency, that's huge. Chase Young's deal, he had a good game, by the way. Chase Young's deal also up. Every other starter is returning. So I know it'll be 10 times harder. If I said what I said about the Packers and it not being hard, and it's not house money, and it's not you can get there all the time, it's going to be so hard, maybe impossible to get there. And there's a Super Bowl hangover to like factor into the calculus equation of that. But like, the window isn't closed, is my point. The window for this team is not over, but the up here stuff has got to be worked out. Overtime rules, they're new. What does it mean? Defensive performances. We are in the aftermath, the hangover of the Super Bowl.